What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Poddex and fueled by Goat Fuel. It's Sunday and Sal is on the show, so you know what that means. It means it's pay-per-view day in WWE. I know that there's NBA playoffs, and I know that the WNBA is back, and I know that the football episodes are coming starting tomorrow, but we have to take a break and we have to acknowledge WrestleMania Backlash tonight on Peacock. What's up, Sal? How you doing today, man?
Is it tonight? I have it down as it's tomorrow at 8.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, it's Saturday, yeah.
I'm
But
lying.
yeah, no. I'm great. Not too much going on. Just getting ready to watch. Like I told you, the Ranger playoff game 3.
Yeah.
So shifting to Pittsburgh now. I don't know how many people are into hockey, but one of the greatest games, game 1, 3 overtimes, so 6 periods of hockey.
That was a fantastic game. That was probably the first hockey game I've watched in a long time. I didn't know the Caps were in the playoffs, so I started watching playoff hockey. Playoff hockey is great to watch anyway, but I watched that game specifically. That game, I enjoyed every single second of it. I don't think that was wasted time at all. I don't think that was wasted time at all.
The one thing for the Rangers is the goaltender made 79 saves and still didn't win. I mean, that's brutal.
that is brutal to save 79. Yeah, it's always nice to have you on the show, dude. I mean, not that it's like not, we've done this enough times where it's just always a pleasure. We got Backlash. Before we dive into the card, right? We were talking before we got on. I just want to continue that conversation first, just about Raw and SmackDown. I don't know. I've always felt this way about title reigns after the champion relinquishes the title initially, right? So just to go back into the way back machine for a second, right? Remember Roman Reigns back in, I believe it was 2019, beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship, and then in October he had to relinquish the title due to leukemia. He obviously is now the champion once he returned. I've always felt that sometimes, not all the time, unless things drastically change, like when Seth returned from injury and then Dean cashed in on him and things like that, like with Finn Balor, where he hasn't sniffed World Championship gold on the main roster since he relinquished the Universal Championship in 2016. I've always felt that title reigns for the champion who relinquished the title due to injury are always like a double reign. Like it's always me personally, I always feel like it's the initial length it was intended to be, and then the actual length. Roman at this point has been champion for Universal Champion for almost 620 days. He's been WWE Champion for about 35 days at this point, at the time this is going to come out tomorrow. So it's been a really lengthy title reign. For a while, Roman Reigns being the focal point of SmackDown is what made SmackDown great. Now, at least, especially post WrestleMania, now that there's no Brock Lesnar anymore, Raw has been doing better than SmackDown, in my opinion, weekly. Raw hasn't been great, but it's been better than SmackDown the past couple of weeks. And I don't know if that's just me or if like you think that too, but it seems like what we were getting before on SmackDown relative to now, it's like it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same, does it?
No, because like I think that they lost pretty much their main focus, which was Roman Reigns. Like he was the guy there, and now he's kind of the guy on both shows. And the thing is too is now the last few weeks that the RK-Bro Usos rivalry is kind of like taking the main stage, I think, on both shows. You've seen the Usos go to Raw to confront RK-Bro. You've seen RK-Bro do the same thing to to the Usos, and then Roman Reigns kind of looks like that like third guy.
Yeah.
Like it's not that it makes him look weaker. I think they built him up enough where like you know who like the power that he brings, but like adding I don't know, adding McIntyre and Reigns to this what was supposed to be a tag team unification match is incredibly weird, and I don't know. I think like you had said before the show that maybe they thought it was too early to unify the tag team titles, but
It's
I don't know.
possible. I don't know. I mean, when you think of unification matches, you think of like big pay-per-views. I mean, I think in recent memory, the last time we saw a champion unify two titles and a pay-per-view that wasn't major, I think you would have to go all the way back to TLC when Randy Orton and John Cena fought for but those were two world titles. So like that one didn't really matter because it was at TLC. It was in the match that bragged the name. It was a TLC match for two world champions. It was two top guys. So that one doesn't really count. I don't maybe they thought it was too soon. I don't know. I mean, I think what's happened is the bloodline, specifically because of how just to the moon and out of the stratosphere they've pushed Roman Reigns. Rightfully so, he's the face of the company. They've lost a lot of steam. Like all the steam that they've picked up, they've lost, I would say, from WrestleMania 37 to 38. It's not all the way gone, but it's definitely dissipated. And I feel like maybe they think that they need to slow things down a little bit. This could also mean that maybe they're not ready to break up Riddle and Randy Orton, because you would assume that the Usos are going to beat RK-Bro to unify the tag titles. I don't foresee a scenario where RK-Bro wins that match whenever that match happens down the line. Maybe they're not ready to break up Riddle and Randy, or maybe they are and they just don't know what to do with Riddle and Randy. But there's clearly a lot of confusion surrounding not just the unification match, but also what they're going to do with Roman as far as defending the titles. Like, is there going to be now one belt? Is he going to do the Becky two belts thing where he's defending both titles in different matches? So he's got two different programs going on at the same time. Like, there's a lot of confusion, clearly, I think, around the bloodline with Roman and his championships, with the Usos and what they're going to look like once they unify the titles and how that's going to work, with RK-Bro, of how they're going to split up, who's going to be the heel, who's going to be the face, and what direction each guy is going to go. And then also, like, are we going to get new members of the bloodline? Because I think originally we all thought that at some point Nia Jax and Tamina would join as tag team champions, and well, Nia Jax is no longer with the company, and now you have Naomi as a champion, and she's on record as saying that she is interested in joining, but it would have to be the right way to do it. But she's in a tag team with Sasha Banks, and I don't think you could have the bloodline if someone that's not a part of the bloodline is in the faction. They've mentioned the bloodline in passing on NXT with Solo Sikoa, and he's been doing great down there in NXT. So like, there's a lot of different question marks. I think that's probably the main reason why they scrapped the unification match to go 6-man tag.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, like, I remember that reading that a while ago WWE wanted to break up RK-Bro, and Randy Orton told them, of course it's well known he likes working with Riddle.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Randy Orton got in the company's ear again and asked them.
It's possible. They're making a lot of money off RK-Bro. So
they really have been. Like, we talk about Roman Reigns being the focus point of SmackDown. RK-Bro has really been the focus point of Raw for pretty much, like, they've been the most popular thing on Raw for as long as they've been together.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I mean, obviously, like, the chemistry is, like, really there. Like, you have two guys that are very publicly saying, they love working with each other. And I feel like it's kind of elevated Randy Orton's game a little bit, in that I think so. He's having more fun with it.
Yeah. And you can see it on his face. Drew McIntyre said the other day, when Drew and RK-Bro were first in the ring together on SmackDown, either last week or week before last, when they were leaving, Drew was like, he's never seen Randy Orton smile so much in a ring. And rightfully, like, you can tell that Randy's having a lot of fun, which is why I've been banging home the point that if you're going to break up RK-Bro, you have to have Riddle turn on Randy. So obviously they're making a lot of, so like, here's the thing with WWE, right? They're not really losing, so to speak, by staving off the unification match, because we know that it's coming. People are going to want to see it, right? And we're enjoying RK-Bro. They're making money off of RK-Bro. So there's no real loser here. There's just a lot of confusion. The one thing that is certain, though, I think out of all of this, is that while it's not happening right now, even though we thought it would, Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be in a Universal Championship match finally before the calendar year 2022 is over. I think, right? If you remember back to when we were still in the Thunderdome, he supposedly won the gauntlet match to have the shot at Royal Rumble when we had that last man standing match at Royal Rumble between Roman and Kevin Owens. Adam Pearce comes out and gives the match to Kevin Owens. He comes out a couple weeks ago when Roman announces the week after the SmackDown after WrestleMania, when Roman announces that the Usos are going to challenge for the Raw tag titles, and we think that's going to happen there. Interestingly enough, though, and this is something that I hated about last night's or Friday's episode of SmackDown, Shinsuke Nakamura is clearly going to be in the world title picture down the line, but he lost to Sami Zayn. And nothing against Sami Zayn, because I love Sami Zayn. I think he's been doing incredible work. He's one of my favorite superstars to watch in WWE right now, especially as a heel. But I'm not that booking decision to have Sami beat Shinsuke on an episode of SmackDown didn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe just to get Sami back in the win column. Maybe Sami down the line is going to win the IC check. I mean, he's won the title 3 times in the last 2.5 years. So maybe that's the movement there. I don't really know, but I don't know. I didn't like that Shinsuke lost to Sami, if I'm being honest.
You just, I mean, the immediately when I think about, Shinsuke Nakamura losing to Sami Zayn, I'm automatically reminded Sami Zayn lost to Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania. See, he goes from losing to Johnny Knoxville to beating Shinsuke Nakamura, which I think it pretty much shows how, I don't know, kind of how far Nakamura has fallen, where he was a champion in Japan, and here he's kind of been in the background.
Has been yikes. It's been terrible. He should have been WWE champion 2 separate occasions. I say that all the time. Like WrestleMania 34, he should have won the championship. But even before that, he should have been champion against Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam. I don't know how they dropped the ball twice there. But I think so. So the 6-man tag main event hasn't been getting a lot of love, primarily because it wasn't promoted. It was promoted as a unification match, and then I got scrapped. Do you think if they just promoted it as RK-Bro and Drew versus Roman and the Usos, in the beginning, without even having gone through the whole the whole go to Raw, go to SmackDown, challenge back and forth, challenge accepted, set up the contract sign, because they went through the entire thing up until the contract signing. We're like, oh yeah, we're getting this match. And then Roman comes out and then Drew comes out, and now it's like, okay, to hell with that. Let's just do 6-man tag. I feel like the 6-man tag has the potential to be a fantastic match because you've got 6 of the best in the business right now. But it's just not getting a lot of love because of the unification aspect of it. I feel like if they would have just not gone with that and just teased the unification down the line, maybe the 6-man tag would be getting the love that it probably deserves.
Probably. I mean, because they haven't really done the bloodline fighting side by side in a match that much, if at all.
It's been on dark. They've all been on dark matches. It's all been dark matches.
I mean, on television. I mean, it's a good match. I just think that they thought of it like you said, I think they thought of it last minute. And so if it had the proper promotion, yeah, I'd be into it. I'm still into it. But I was looking for a championship unification match, and in a way, it kind of makes the result makes me think about it a little bit. Whereas with Usos versus RK-Bro, I think it's obvious the Usos win that match whenever it happens somewhere down the line. Yeah. Because the RK-Bro split is coming, unfortunately. And there's no way
that match is going to be the beginning of the split, unfortunately. Yeah.
And then there's no way the Usos could go back to Roman Reigns without any titles. I mean, that wouldn't really make any sense. Roman with 2 and the Usos with nothing. So
it's so you raised a good point about the outcome. Because as we know, Roman Reigns hasn't lost a match via pinfall or submit. He hasn't lost a one-on-one match in God knows how long. It's been a very long time since Roman's lost a one-on-one match. Roman Reigns himself, though, he himself has not been pinned or submitted in just as long, if not even longer. Does Roman Reigns and the Bloodline lose this match?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it back and forth, and I think that if you really want to give Drew McIntyre like a real reason to challenge Roman Reigns, if you kind of want to pretend, like if you're WWE, want to pretend like there's some uncertainty on who would win the championship unification match, have RK-Bro beat the Usos in this match. Have Drew McIntyre not, obviously not pin Roman Reigns or submit him or anything, but have his team beat Roman Reigns' team. Especially after all the talk that McIntyre's been doing, I can't see McIntyre and RK-Bro losing this match.
Yeah.
Obviously I wouldn't rule it out, but I think storyline wise, it makes more sense for the faces of the this feud to come out on top here.
So I know we have to talk about the rest of the card, but let's just project for a second because WWE announced that for the first time in God knows how long they're going across the pond for a pay-per-view yet to be named. Oh, actually, no, I think they called it Battle at the Castle or something like that. It's in Wales, I believe, in the UK or something like that in September. Okay. Obviously, you have guys that hail from the UK region, right? That I think are World Championship material. Finn Balor, he's not going to get the shot. But you got Finn, you have obviously Drew, you've got Sheamus. Those are the three guys you think on the top of the head. Clearly, they're sticking with Drew because he's already been there most recently. Do you think that this is the beginning of that long-term build to Drew versus Roman in Wales at Battle of the Castle? And then is Drew going to be the one to beat Roman for one of or both of those titles at that? Because I feel like you don't put Drew McIntyre in this match and Roman Reigns in this match if you're not testing the waters for that match. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't look, and props to you for the long-term booking. I just don't see how that's not the long-term direction. Obviously, Roman's going to have challenges between now and then at other pay-per-view premium live events, excuse me. But is that what you want? And then, because that's what I want. But is that what you want? And do you think that's where they're going? Drew versus Roman for one of or both of the championships in his home region?
Oof, that's tough because it's obviously I think they've done a nice job of keeping Drew McIntyre relevant even without a world title. I think they've done a nice job with that. He's looked strong in every feud that he's been in. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Roman Reigns has kind of picked off everybody, right? Kevin Owens, Brock Lesnar. He beat Cesaro, who's no longer with the company. He beat Goldberg.
Terrible, dude.
It was terrible, but he did it. So
he did it. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't beat Rollins, but I don't.
I can't explain to you how upset I am that we didn't get that match at Elimination Chamber. I thought that would have been the obvious route, dude. You go from Roman winning via disqualification to a no DQ match, but instead you want to put Bill Goldberg in a World Championship match. Don't get me started with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange because if McIntyre doesn't win, and McIntyre is the next guy to get steamrolled by Roman Reigns, I think it just comes down to Nakamura. And what I've seen from WWE since Nakamura has been here, I mean, I know he won the Royal Rumble. That's
the most notable thing he's done in his career is win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
because none of his title reigns, neither U.S. reign, neither IC Championship reign, nor the tag title reign or two. I think he has two of each. None of them meant anything. Ricochet, in a little over a month, has had more title reigns than Nakamura, and he was champion for like 6 or 7 months, I believe. Like, that's not good for Shinsuke. I know that they said it. I don't know if they're going with Shinsuke being the guy to beat Roman would be the ultimate like WTF, because
you would really have to
his history. Yeah. Yikes. It'd be tough. It's going to be I think it'd be a tough sell because we love Nakamura as fans, but in the world of WWE, Nakamura has always been just not good. As far as championship booking, as far as like they've never thought that he was good enough to be the guy
I was
to hold the world title. So it's like, yikes, dude. How do you? How do you go from all of these failures to, oh, he can't beat AJ Styles and he can't beat Jinder Mahal for some reason, but he can beat Roman Reigns?
Yeah,
It's going to be a
I
hard
mean,
sell.
yeah, it's sad because you think about like everything that Nakamura has accomplished. He comes to WWE and they're like, "You're okay." That's basically what they told them, what they're telling him. Obviously, they love McIntyre almost as much as they love Roman Reigns. So, I mean, your two poster boys. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, if here's the thing, I'm still thinking about the match with The Rock, and I still really think they want to
That
do it.
cannot, that can't be a title match. That
Yeah.
cannot be a title match because if it's a title match, Roman's going to win. Rock's not going to be the Universal Champion because at that point, if you're going to have Rock the champion, you're not going to have Rock drop the championship until the next big pay-per-view. Like, I don't. He's not going to drop it at Backlash. He's not going to be so. Unless you want to elevate Money in the Bank, which I love Money in the Bank. I don't think there's a big four. I think there's a big five. I think it's Money in the Bank, Rumble, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania. That's my big five to me. And to be honest, I think Money in the Bank's a bigger deal than Survivor Series, especially over the last couple of years with how they've just tainted Survivor Series name by making it this brand warfare nonsense. But unless you're gonna have Rock drop the Money in the Bank, like you're not gonna have Rock drop that championship for 6 months until SummerSlam. Is Rock gonna be available for 6 months to be the top guy in the? So I love that match, but that match can't be for the championship, which is why I'm leaning into thinking that Drew's going to win the championship at Battle at the Castle. And look, like I said, we're in May, and that pay-per-view is not until September. We have a lot of time to figure that out. But it's hard for me to believe that if they go with that, which I think they are, because they've teased it on Young Rock on NBC. They've talked about it in WWE Evil in the mini series. Sorry, in the mini series on Peacock. I almost called it the network on Peacock. So like. It's don't. It's not necessary. That just takes away all the mystique. Of that. Like we know Roman's gonna win, but at least if it's not for a championship, you can think about it. Maybe he won't. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. It's tough because it really would be the two faces, like the two guys WWE loves the most, McIntyre and Roman Reigns. And I think, like, obviously, like we just talked about Nakamura, but who's left after McIntyre for Roman Reigns
You
to
have
beat?
to build somebody. I mean, I don't think we've seen Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley, so maybe there's that. I'm just trying to think about the division. It doesn't really look like they're interested in doing Roman versus Sheamus. I think if they were, we would have got it by now at this point. Big E is out for a considerable amount of time, and they didn't want to do it when he was Money in the Bank. I don't think they're going to want to do it now. Also, another missed opportunity to get us the Bloodline in a faction match. We could have had the Bloodline versus the New Day at Survivor Series a couple years last year, but they missed that. Maybe they go AJ Styles because so this is the thing, and this is why it shouldn't be this difficult. Roman Reigns has steamrolled everybody on SmackDown. He hasn't touched Raw. He hasn't touched your AJ Styles. He hasn't touched your Bobby Lashley's. He hasn't touched. Obviously, he's been there with Seth and he's been there with Drew, who's on Raw, and maybe Randy, like maybe Riddle. Like you could go a lot of different ways. There's an entire, a whole other roster, which is kind of, not to sound corny, a whole new world for Roman to tap into as champion that we haven't seen matchups with him on that side before. So maybe, but then the question becomes again, how is he going to defend the championship? And I think that's still what they're trying to figure out. Is he going to be defending both championships at all times, like they did with the WWE World Heavyweight Championships when they combined those two until it was one belt, or is it going to be a Becky two belt situation where he's going to defend the Universal Championship against this guy and he'll defend the WWE Championship on Raw? Like, how is it? What's it going to look like? That is why I think again why they probably scrapped, because if you can't in my personal opinion, you can't unify the tag titles if you don't know how you're going to work on the unification that you've already done. Unifying the tag titles and defending that, it's easy. Raw tag titles, Smack, that's easy. How are you going to defend the two top titles of the company when you have your top guy? That's I think what they have to figure out. I don't want to spend too much more time on this. So let's stay on SmackDown and let's talk about the most underwhelming Women's World Championship rivalry we have seen in the last 6 to 10 years, I would say. And that's really, really harsh, I know, but that's how I feel. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, I think, as much as I love Ronda, and as much as I think she should have won at WrestleMania, I honestly think this is a lose-lose situation for the universe, not WWE, but for the universe. No one wants to see Charlotte as champion, obviously, but how many people really want to see Ronda as champion? Like, if we're being honest, like, how many people actually want to see Ronda Rousey as the SmackDown Women's Champion at this point? I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. She's going to win the match, I would assume, at Backlash. I don't see how she loses that match. But I don't, from what I can grab from the Reddits and Twitter and just conversations I've had with guys that watch, guys and gals that watch, I don't think people are as high on Ronda as the powers that be think that we are anymore, at least.
Yeah, I think if they gave, here's the thing, it's kind of all happened so fast for Ronda Rousey. You know, she came back at the Royal Rumble, and you kind of knew that if she was back, she was going to win, especially with all like the half the Rumble being people like retired women's wrestlers coming back.
There's no way one of those guys are gonna win, right?
No, but
as cool as it would have been, they weren't gonna let Nikki win the Rumble either. That would have been so dope, though. If the Knockout Champion won the Rumble, that would have been crazy.
At least get to like the
final. At least get to the final four.
Yeah. That would have been awesome. Like they could have said like Nikki James fighting for Impact, but I don't know.
Talk about setting the world on fire with that one. If that would have happened, that'd have been crazy.
It would have been. I don't know, because the thing is, I think they've kind of rushed it with Ronda Rousey. People like weren't loving her before she left, and then the last match, the triple threat match at WrestleMania, was just an awkward ending. It was there was a lot of negative energy surrounding Ronda Rousey, and look, people like I think it's good that she's back because like she had said, like I found it disappointing because she had said, like, I want to do this long term. And then obviously she got hurt. And I think she had a baby. So that's why she's been out for so long. But now that she's back, they've kind of tried to push her right back into the main event picture. And I think that's why like people like were not high on her work before she left. So like you take that energy and you bring it into this match. People already, as much as people respect Charlotte Flair, they don't want to see Charlotte Flair anymore.
They don't. Here's something that's crazy. Not to cut you off. I saw this video of the last 20 SmackDown Women's Champions. And the last 20 SmackDown Women's Champions is basically every single SmackDown Women's Champion in history, except for when Becky Lynch won it the first time and when Alexa Bliss won it from her. Aside, so there's been 22 SmackDown Women's Champions in history. Would you know? Almost half of them have been Charlotte Flair. Of the 6 or 7 reigns that she's had as SmackDown Women's Champion to this point in her career, 4 or 5 of them have been absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. She won the title from Asuka leading into 35. That was just to make that match winner take all match. Been absolutely nothing. She beat, I want to say she beat Carmella for the championship at SummerSlam. That didn't really mean anything. That was really just to set up the whole man thing. So that didn't really mean all that much, to be honest. She beat, I don't remember, I think she beat Asuka or something for the championship before that. Or no, she beat Natalya. Worst SmackDown Women's Champion of all time. She beat Natalya for the championship. That was just so that Carmella could have a legitimate person to beat, to take the title from as the first ever Miss Money in the Bank. Like, I'm sick of Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is talented. I'm not going to take anything away from her. She is one of, this is a hot take, I think. She's a top 5 women's wrestler of all time. She's not the best, in my opinion, ever, I don't think. I still think that Trish Stratus, Lita, and Sasha Banks are better than her from 3-1 in that order. I think Sasha's the GOAT. But like, I'm sick of seeing Charlotte for the championship. And this is why I continuously say that if you're going to bring in a women's championship, you bring in mid-card titles. So that when you have someone returning, like a Ronda Rousey, you put her in the mid-card scene first. When you have someone like Charlotte Flair, like, because clearly with the women, they have no interest in creating rivalries for the women and for non-championship rivalries the way they do for the men, right? You look at like your AJ Styles and your Edges, right? You've got, apparently we're getting Tommaso Ciampa versus Mustafa Ali down the line, like stuff like that. Like Logan Paul and the Miz versus the Mysterios, like matches like that. We don't get that in the women's division that much. And so now everything has to be for the world title. And if it's not for the women's championship, it means absolutely nothing. And then you got Charlotte Flair holding the championship, and she doesn't deserve it. Because like, let's be serious here. Charlotte Flair, I think, is a terrible SmackDown Women's Champion at this point in her career. Take it off of her. But no one wants to see Ronda Rousey hold the championship either. It's such a terrible spot to be in if you're WWE, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously there's like a lot of women on the roster who could, be our world championship material. You look at, Naomi, Sasha Banks, Liv Morgan at some point is going to be a world champion.
I hope so. I so hope they haven't given up on that, because I'd love to see Liv Morgan as women's champion one day.
You look at probably the one that gets me the most is they don't know what they're doing with Alexa Bliss. I would love to see Doudrop at least in a world title match. I think it'd be
and a real one. Not a condolence, not a consolation one at Royal Rumble because the champion needs a match. Like a real one. That'd be cool. Yeah. It's Piper Niven. Drop this Doudrop nonsense. Get her back to Niven.
Yeah, but but you're right. There's no the only feud I remember that meant anything like just a non-title match for the women was obviously there was it was a one-match feud, but it was Lita Charlotte. But the one I remember the most is
did we get that match?
Lita versus Charlotte. Oh no, yeah. Lita versus Charlotte. Or was that Lita versus Becky? No, that was Lita versus Becky.
They ended up getting Lita versus Becky. I think the last non-title women's champion, the non-title women's feud we got was Charlotte versus Trish Stratus at SummerSlam a couple years ago, when I think SummerSlam was in Toronto.
Yeah, that was the one I remember the most is when Jim Neidhart passed away. They had Ruby Riot versus Natalya, and I thought that feud was actually pretty decent.
I love that feud, actually. Yeah, worked perfectly into what the Riot Squad were doing at the time. Made perfect sense for Natalya, right? Yeah, I love that feud. That feud was great.
Finally built something like decent for Natalya.
Yeah, that was so long ago, dude.
That's the most memorable one for me.
That the women's division, I really hate the women's division. Not the talent, because there's a lot of talent. They just don't know. They just don't know what they're doing. Sticking the women's division. Let's go to the other side. Let's talk about Raw. Rhea Ripley recently turned on Liv Morgan. I'm sure we're gonna get some type of match out of that down the line, unless they're just saved. Forget that. But Edge has this new faction. It's called Judgment Day, apparently. I gotta be honest, not the sexiest name, but it's cool. Works. Currently, Damian Priest is a part of that faction. Obviously, Edge has a match against AJ Styles on the card, which we'll get into in a second. Does Rhea Ripley join Judgment Day? Do you think that's the next member to join?
I think I could see it, just because they don't really. I feel like they don't have anything lined up for Rhea Ripley. So like, there's no mid-card feuds. They don't want to do that. If you want to keep Rhea Ripley involved, yeah, you could put her as part of Edge's faction. I think obviously her just being in a faction with Edge pushes her career forward, and being able to work alongside a Hall of Famer. But yeah, only because they really don't have anything else lined up for her. And I think it's not like a Doudrop or a Piper Niven. It's not like, it's not like any of these other girls that are, Liv Morgan. I think Rhea Ripley's kind of past them in terms of like, just character in the company.
Yeah.
So I think you have to try to keep her involved somehow. Maybe that, being part of that faction, I think will eventually get her a world title match. I don't know which championship, but it will eventually, I think, get her a world title match against somebody, probably maybe Bianca at some point. But I think it'd be interesting.
I tweeted, and it needs to happen, and I don't care. And this is how you revitalize Survivor Series. And maybe it didn't happen for this year's Survivor Series because I think they've got the booking stuff already. They don't. I'm giving WWE too much credit. We need, if you're going to make brand warfare interesting, just do a full-on faction war, dude. Get Rhea Ripley in there with Edge and put the title on her. Throw, get like Tommaso Ciampa looks like he's turning heel. Get Tommaso Ciampa in there, dude. Get Finn Balor in there because they clearly have no idea what. No, don't do that with Finn because Finn and AJ just had a moment, or maybe you do. It doesn't really matter whether he's in it or he's not. Doesn't matter. But like, get like Tommaso Ciampa. Give me Rhea Ripley. If you don't have anything to do with Alexa Bliss, like put Alexa Bliss in there because I feel like she could still benefit from that because it's something for her to do. It's better than her sitting on the sidelines and doing absolutely nothing. And then you build up the bloodline and you just get Edge's faction versus the bloodline and they just go to war, dude. At Survivor Series, you get someone would have to beat Roman for the championship, obviously, I think, or maybe you save that for the championship match. Who knows? But like you get the Usos versus, let's say, Damian Priest and Tommaso Ciampa, right? They're the Raw Tag Team Champions. Okay, you get that going down the line. And then you get like Rhea Ripley as the Raw Women's Champion versus, let's say at some point Naomi and Sasha lose the tag titles versus Rhea Ripley versus Naomi, right? And like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get some full-on faction war, dude. And then maybe people will start. I don't remember the last time someone cared about Survivor Series, at least for me. I don't like the new format for Survivor Series. The NXT one was cool because I loved NXT at the time and NXT winning, and all of those matches were great because of the NXT talent and the talent that was available on the roster at the time. But Survivor Series sucks. I don't like the Raw v SmackDown thing, and I know we're not talking about Survivor Series, but I just want to bring that up. I don't like that. I hate it. They need to go back to just doing like the old feuds, like the DX versus John Cena Survivor Series year. That was 2009. It was here in DC, I think it was in 2009. Like that whole vibe, that's the vibe we're looking for. The Team Authority versus Team Cena thing in 2014. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for the 5 best men on SmackDown who aren't even the 5 best men on SmackDown versus the 5 best men on Raw. We don't want to get that nonsense out of here. Nobody wants to see that. Now, if you want to continue with the world champion versus world champion thing, that's cool. To see who is the supreme champion in WWE for the Raw for the men and the women. That's cool. But outside of that, like no one cares about the US champ versus the IC champ. No one wants to get all that other dumb stuff. Just get it out of here, dude. Like nobody wants to see that. Even in 2016, they did Survivor Series. That was okay because it wasn't totally built around brand warfare. But like 17, 18, 20, 21, they've just sucked. I've hated every single one of them. And I'm probably in the minority here. I don't know. I just had to go on that tangent real quick to talk about Rhea Ripley. Edge, AJ Styles gave us an absolute banger. Damian Priest with his fat face had to come in and ruin it at WrestleMania. It looks like Finn Balor and AJ Styles are kind of aligned, but apparently the Too Sweet moment on Raw was not Finn Balor's idea. That was not the organic moment that it was in 2017. Apparently, WWE told Finn Balor to go out there and do that, which is disgusting. Who do you have winning Edge, AJ Styles? Is AJ Styles going to get his get back, or is AJ Styles going to lose to Edge again at WrestleMania Backlash?
Well, it's interesting because it's interesting with this because you have this new faction, right? You have Edge and his first member Damian Priest, and now Damian Priest is barred from ringside. So, I mean, I don't think it'll be necessarily a clean finish, but so early into his faction, I can't really see Edge losing. It's unfortunate as it is, and it would make sense. Edge gets the win at WrestleMania, AJ Styles gets a win here. But I think if you're going to have a new faction with Edge, can you really have their leader lose? The first match is like the leader of that faction. I can't really see it. I think it would be a bad way to start the faction. I already don't like Damian Priest being barred from ringside because I still think he gets involved somehow. And like I said, not a clean finish. I don't think he should beat Edge should beat AJ Styles clean. But I would really like to see like I want to say like a heel tactic, like something like to get like major heat on Edge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe Edge gets himself, I don't know, maybe Edge gets himself disqualified or something, or something happens where Edge doesn't win the match clean. But I don't think he loses. And I don't think he gets laid out at the end of the match.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm of that same line of thinking. I thought Edge was going to get the win at WrestleMania, and then AJ Styles would get the win at Backlash. I feel like though, if they were going to do this, they should have had AJ get the win and Damian Priest attack AJ Styles after the match with Edge at WrestleMania, so that if Edge gets the win here, it makes more sense. I don't like AJ Styles losing a big match at WrestleMania and then following up with a loss at Backlash. Maybe that's just me. I don't really like that, especially given that he's coming off of getting tossed around by Omas as if he didn't know how to step into a wrestling ring just a couple months ago after they finally split up. I don't really like that for AJ. I think AJ at some point is going to be in the world title picture. You got to get him some wins though. You have to get him some wins. So that one though, because they're both talented, will likely be the match of the night. I can't see Baron Corbin versus Madcap Moss definitely won't be the match of the night. I can assure you that. The 6-man tag, even though it has star power, I think it's underwhelming as far as the build is concerned. And even though it's a stipulation match with an I Quit match, like Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, as we touched on earlier, I don't really think anyone gives a damn about that match. So I don't even know if people are going to be. Obviously, it's a championship match and it's an I Quit match, and it's going to be exciting to watch and see how, where they go with it as far as in the match. But AJ Styles and Edge will be match of the night, I think, because incredible workers. Edge's heel gimmick is great. AJ Styles is great in and of itself, no matter what the gimmick is. And where they're going to give you a fantastic match. The one thing I do want to touch on very quickly, I don't know if you noticed this or not, Bianca Belair's Raw Women's Championship match got taken off the card because they had it. So, first of all, Sonya Deville being her first opponent is just goes to show you what they've got in store for Bianca. Are you surprised we're not just getting a rematch against Becky Lynch?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because the whole point of Bianca, I think, winning at WrestleMania was revenge for obviously losing as fast as she did at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I think what they've kind of gone in the direction of is like Becky Lynch has gone a little crazy now.
I love that for her too. I love that for her.
So I think that would definitely add, another. That would definitely add another, element to the match, a rematch with Bianca Belair. But at that point, like, you have Becky Lynch with this new persona, so to speak, versus obviously you're not going to have Bianca Belair lose her first championship match. So I can kind of see why they didn't do the rematch.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Sonya Deville, I think they just wanted to get Bianca like one easy title defense in. And it's going to be very interesting to see where they go now with it. Because I was like really pumped up looking for,
Oh, no, I thought it would have been a fantastic match because I think Sonya Deville's I think she's talented. I think she's one of like the underappreciated women. Sonya Deville though.
Yeah, well,
we could have gotten something better out of the Raw.
I was sitting there and they did like the whole drum roll and I was like, whose music is coming on? And then obviously Sonya attacks her behind. I'm like, oh, somebody who hasn't really been wrestling is gonna get a world title match.
And then they put it on Backlash, and then they took it off of Backlash and put it on Raw, and it's not even on the card anymore. So it looks like we're not getting the match, which is interesting to say the least.
It stinks
Sasha Banks. absolutely stinks for Bianca Belair. Sasha Banks and Naomi are women's tag title champions. Sasha Banks finally got her first win at WrestleMania, which is great for Sasha. That's the one thing she hadn't done, it seems, is just get the win at WrestleMania. Aside, obviously, from when the Royal Rumble and be Miss Money in the Bank, but that'll come, I think, down the line. Sasha Banks and Naomi also are not on the Backlash card. It looks like the match they're going to have against Natalya and Shayna Baszler is going to be on SmackDown after Backlash instead of on Backlash. I don't know why they're doing that, though.
I mean, maybe
I don't like
maybe time constraints, but I think you would.
Dude, no
I'm
one
surprised.
wants to see Baron Corbin versus Madcap Moss. Get it out of here.
I was gonna say, yeah, because I would think you would want a second women's
Absolutely. Yeah,
match
there's
on the
there's only
card.
one women's. There's only 5 matches on the card right now. It's the 6-man tag. It's AJ versus Edge. It's Corbin versus Moss, and it's the I Quit match. There's 4 matches. AJ versus Edge, 6-man tag.
Well, I have
Yeah, there's like 4 matches on the card.
I have Rollins versus Rhodes on there too.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Rollins
looking
versus
at
Rhodes, and I
Future
think
Report
Lashley versus
now.
Omas. Lashley versus Omas on there. So there's like 7. You can do away with Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin to give the women, and this is why I keep saying that they don't care about the women's tag team champions, because you're telling me that you would rather have Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin on the card than Sasha Banks and Naomi, the freaking women tag team champions, or even the Raw women's champion Bianca Belair on the card. That needs some explaining. I don't know how you can. I don't know.
I think Madcap versus Corbin is a match I would tune into, but it doesn't belong on that part of the card. I think it's a match that it could be a good match, but it has to be either on regular television or on like a pre-show or something.
Dude,
I don't
put
think
that shit on the pre-show and keep it moving, man. I don't want to see that. I want to see that. I mean, this is why I'm not a
I could do it as like a warm-up match, but like not on the main card.
Guess. Yeah, not on the main card
like imagine if you were to follow like Rollins versus Rhodes with that one.
Rollins versus Rhodes. I'm so pumped for that. First of all, Rhodes was on Broken Skull Sessions the other day. I think it comes out. I think it's either already out or it comes out today. And by today, I mean the day of recording, Saturday. I think it came out last week. I'm not 100% sure. But I've seen clips from it, and I've heard like reports of what they were talking about. Pumped. So pumped for that. That match, though, Rhodes Rollins 2. Talk about a classic. Like, that's going to be so good, because their match at WrestleMania was fantastic. This one's going to be even better, I think. And I feel like I don't think you have Cody lose this match. I think Cody gets this one. I think Cody gets this win as well.
I would have thought it's one. See, this is like what we thought about the AJ Edge match. Like one win here, Edge gets the win here. Styles gets the win here. I thought it was kind of going to be the same thing here, and then they were going to do like the best 2 out of 3. That like the rubber match, and Cody Rhodes would win that one. Which would be awesome. But what's like what I can't remember though, the last big match that Rollins has won, and it doesn't really matter because he's Seth Rollins.
The last big match that Rollins has won.
I mean, he beat Roman Reigns technically, but
he's been since he's been a heel, he's been on a losing and on a lot of these matches. If you want to say his match, that disgusting eye for an eye match, if you want to say that was a big win, I guess. He hasn't. I don't think he's had a major. You're right, though. That's a good point. I don't think he's had a major win since he's been this version of Seth Rollins. I don't think, because he lost his feud with Cesaro.
Part of me kind of wants to see him win then. Just to kind of
I'd love to see Rollins win. Just to set up a grudge match. Absolutely. Let's have Rollins win. Rhodes Rollins 3 in like an Iron Man or a best out of 3 situation would be superb. I'd love it. You'd have to date back, I think, to face Rollins. it's very possible that the last big one of Seth Rollins' career was when he won the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 35. And I could be stretching it, but I'm like 85% sure that's the last.
Because as long as like the Joker thing, it's been working. It's crazy. It shows how great Rollins is. He hasn't had any like major wins, but you see him on TV and you're like, this guy still sells. So
yeah. Oh no, 100%. I think, and I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It's perfect. Like, interestingly enough, the day that Rollins went crazy and started the transformation from the Messiah to like the visionary into this drip god thing, that all started the Raw after Money in the Bank when Becky Lynch left. Like, that was the day he lost his mind. That was beautiful. And I don't know if that was intentional by WWE or if that just that was just by happenstance, but that was, I think, fantastic development on their part. But yeah, I think you'd have to say the last big win, because even though he lost the championship at Extreme Rules to Brock because of the cash in and won it back at like the match at WrestleMania 35 was a bigger win than when he got the championship back at SummerSlam that year. So yeah, you'd have to go all the way back to WrestleMania 35, 2019. Or maybe it's the match against AJ Styles, but that wasn't really a big win. That was a great match for the championship. That wasn't really like a big win though. So yeah, WrestleMania 35. It's been a while, but Seth Rollins is still Seth Rollins though, and I think that's the beauty of it for him is because he is who he is. He doesn't necessarily have to have a massive statement win to kind of, you know what I mean, to get that to be Seth Rollins. His stock doesn't drop because he is who he is. But maybe you're right. Maybe Rollins does win at Backlash, and I wouldn't be disappointed about that.
I love it. I want to see
that's a big win. I think. Yeah, I think that's a big win, and you get a third match out of it. It'd be fantastic. Yeah,
because you
can't have Cody ascend to the next level off a loss. You'd want him to get that win, so it would be he'd have his that match would be at Money in the Bank in some weird stipulation or something. That'd be the third one. I mean, you had Rollins come or I'm sorry, Rollins did beat Edge at SmackDown at Madison Square Garden. You could call that a big win last year. So maybe that was his last big win. But yeah, you have Rollins come off of 3-match classic program with Edge, have him follow up with another one with Cody Rhodes. There's no complaints there, I don't think. If you get that 3 times, you have Rhodes win the rubber match, and then he moves on to the next thing, whatever that is going to be for him.
I would absolutely love to see the promo on Monday Night Raw after Rollins beats Rhodes. I think
it's gonna be great. It'd be fantastic. It would be obnoxious, absolutely obnoxious. But I mean, it's Seth Rollins. Like, everything he does at this point is obnoxious, but you love it. Yeah. So the only other thing left on the card to talk about is Bobby Lashley versus Omas. I don't really think there's much to talk about there, because as much as I don't like it, I have this bad feeling that they're going to give Omas the win.
Yeah,
they're going to do absolutely nothing with him in 3 months, and then it's going to be like, yeah, well, you just had Omas, the former WWE champion, for absolutely nothing. So Bobby Lashley's new entrance, though, the new beginning of his entrance where he come off the pedestal, badass. I love it. I love it. Bobby Lashley's got like one of my favorite entrances in WWE today. He's such a badass dude. He's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, I think he is gonna lose. Because essentially, like, you put him with a guy like you put Omas with a guy like MVP, and they're almost trying to say like he's like a new man. Like, this is like Omas is like on like one level, and then he's like another level with MVP, which I mean could be true. I mean, MVP could elevate him a little bit, but
it's possible. Yeah,
MVP could probably help him. I mean, he doesn't have to do much talking. So
if Bobby Lashley losing to Omas, I don't think is best for business at all. Thank you guys as always for watching and listening. Make sure you follow the show on all socials. Sal, please let everybody know where they can find you, and what's up next for you.
Yeah. So you can find me at Sports in the Big Apple. Social media on Instagram at Sports in the Big Apple. You can also find my podcast episodes on Spotify, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Libsyn. So I have a lot of baseball stuff, and baseball is getting rolling around. It's one of the first times ever that both LA clubs and both New York clubs are leading the divisions in baseball, which hasn't happened in a very, very long time. The Mets and the Angels haven't been as great. Obviously, Yankees and the Dodgers are on a different level, but the Angels are kind of finally starting to. They finally know how to pitch now. They're getting some pitching with that offense. They're healthy. The Mets have gotten off to a great start under Buck Showalter, so I'm going to be excited breaking that one down. Obviously, the Jets had a great draft. The Giants had some great prospects fall right into their lap, so they had a great draft as well. So looking forward to getting into all that. Both New York clubs in football. Let's see. They had great drafts. Let's see if they can develop any of this young talent. But I'm looking forward to talking about it. Hopefully, I can get a show during the week. I'll probably do football first and then talk a little bit about baseball. But yeah, Marcus, thanks for having me on. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the pay per view tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to seeing how they book everything. Especially the Roman versus McIntyre feud. I'm looking forward to it because I want to see if they give any hints that McIntyre could be the one guy that could overcome Roman. I think it's possible because I think McIntyre is
Yeah.
the face, like
Yeah.
one of the faces of the company. But I don't know. Let's see. Is it strong enough to overcome the guy Roman?
It'll be interesting. I think worst comes to worst, you're looking at a scenario where maybe McIntyre wins the WWE Championship, Roman holds on, or actually maybe McIntyre wins both titles. Um, and there's a
Okay.
lack of validation. You send Roman into a spiral. Here comes The Rock. He beats The Rock in Hollywood at WrestleMania. That whole thing happens. You get the title, one of, if not both, the titles back on him. We get Cody versus Roman at 41. Or at 40. No, this was 38 at 40. Yeah, I feel like that's the booking. It'll be interesting to see what happens though. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Sal, as always, for coming on the show. Um, I I loved you guys a lot. And I appreciate you guys for watching and listening and following. And starting on Monday with Steezy A. Smith, for the next 7 weeks and some change, 8 weeks, I think to be exact. We're gonna get football. Every single team, all 32 teams from top to bottom in the original draft order, prior to trades or moving around or anything like that, based on record, from Jaguars all the way to the Rams and every team in between, are going to get an off-season preview, off-season recap episode. Looking at their draft and all the moves they made in the offseason. So please look out for that. That starts this week on Monday with Steezy A. Smith coming on the show. We're going to talk Jaguars on Monday, Lions on Wednesday, Texans is on Friday, and then we'll do that all again Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, though, we can't forget about the playoffs, right? The NBA playoffs are on. As those series come to an end, we will continue to give you series recaps of the playoffs like we did in the first round. If you missed any of those first round recaps, I know we're in the second round, it's almost over, but please go back and check those out as well if you've missed them. And then, of course, the WNBA came back this weekend. Saw some great games. My hometown Mystics got the job done against the Fever, really solid young team. My Aces got their win against I forgot who they played, the Mercury, in their opening game. So it's been really great. The WNBA is back, as I announced some time ago. I'm going to start covering the WNBA on the show, so please don't look out for that. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that crazy stuff for me, please. Let's get to 100 subscribers by the end of the month. Follow on all the socials you see here below at GTP Markets on everything. Go talk with Markets on all platforms. If you can't find me, you're not trying hard enough. Use the Googlers. It's 2022. Use the Googlers. They work. So for Sal Vassallo of Sports in the Big Apple, it's Marcus of Go Talk Markets signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.